And welcome to Chalk Talk with Broome Head football coach Todd Staley. Well, Todd, you had kind of a tough game last week on the road playing Fort Mill. Basically came down to whoever had the ball last.
It did. The second half became which defense could stop which offense, which was neither one, to be honest with you, except in the second overtime when they did stop us on the fourth down. But a tremendous effort by both teams. I think both teams' kids played their hearts out. They really did.
It's kind of interesting because we were talking a little bit about how both teams did a lot of similar things on offense too.
You're right. Both coaching staffs have been known to be at a few Wofford clinics and learn a little bit more about Wofford's gun option offense. I know Coach Susie from going back, and we've kind of both dingled in that offense. Their formation is a little bit different from ours, but there were a lot of similarities in what we were doing.
Some positive to come out of the game was Chris Corey had 144 yards rushing, I believe, was the Fats Cafe player of the game, and you had to be pleased too with the way the offensive line blocked for him.
No doubt it was our best performance offensively as a whole. 455 yards of offense, 275 of it coming on the ground. Chris Corey 144 yards, Nick Crocker 60-plus yards at running back and 60 yards receiving. Really good game for our offensive line. They really blocked hard. Tight end Daniel Yerrigan used Brian Carr as a fullback blocking back, and that's a big load for those two kids leading up in there on linebackers. Really happy the way we ran the ball.
On the positive side too, you got to be pleased that against a good team, you got down a couple of scores in the second half and were able to come back and tie it. And had a chance on the last drive of regulation, maybe to get the win in regulation.
Sure did, no doubt. Down 21-7, fumble. Actually, down 14-7. Fumble the opening kickoff of the second half. Give up a touchdown. Down 21-7, and our kids didn't fold. And we didn't do it trying to throw the ball down the field. That's what I really liked about our coaches staying patient, our kids staying patient. We just started running the ball down the field, and slowly but surely, our defense got a couple of stops. We kept moving the ball offensively, and before you know it, we'd scored 21 points and had taken that 28-21 lead. With about 2 minutes to go in the game, we actually scored maybe a little bit too quick, but that's just we were running the ball. Should have played a little bit better defensively on that last drive. I mean, we let them score too quick. But we got the ball back. We went right back down the field, and again, on the last play, had a chance to throw it into the end zone. The ball was tipped around just like you kind of practice it, and unfortunately it fell into their hands rather than ours for an interception, and the game ended in a tie at that time.
You finished the non-conference part now of the schedule with the first 5 games there. What did you learn about this team before you go into region play?
Well, I think we learned a good bit about ourselves. We learned that we did get back in the right defense that we needed to be all along. We felt like we've learned that we can run the football. It's something that we set out in the beginning of the season, that we need to be a run football team that helps sets up the pass. We don't need to be a pass team that sets up the run. Chase Henry is Chase Henry. Tremendous leader on the field. Had some tremendous performances. We learned Chris Corey can run the ball. There's no doubt. And we've done a good job at the wide receiver position. I really do. I'm really proud of Bryant Foster. He stepped into the shoes of Thomas Weeks. Had some big shoes to fill, and boy, I tell you, if you go back and you look at the first 5 games, he made some unbelievable catches.
Again, I had the opportunity to come down and broadcast the overtime part down with the sidelines mic there, and your kids, had it in their eyes that they were not going to give up in overtime. When Chase scored in the first overtime on 4th down, you could see his eyes and his face that he was not going to be denied on that.
Yeah, no doubt. We were running the ball down. We jumped into what we call our gate offense. All offensive linemen and 2 blocking backs for Chase alone and 1 wide out just to stretch out the defense. And he did. We made some good blocks up there, but he was determined to get in there. And even the first overtime, we scored on 4th down. We went for it on 4th down and got our score. And that's why we did it on the second overtime. We felt like we had a good opportunity. We felt like we had a good play. And they made a good adjustment defensively and got us on that last one.
Down to the money games, getting into conference play. You open up against Mid-Carolina, a team that comes in undefeated right there. And what can you tell us about them?
Boy, what an athletic, physical football team they are. For anybody that keeps up with high school football and they know the type of offense that Clover and Palmetto and Ware Shoals have been running for several years, that's what Mid-Carolina is doing, and with tremendous success. No doubt they're 5-0 for a reason. They've beaten some good teams. They're really good and athletic on defense. I really think this is our toughest test of this season.
How do you prepare for what you're going to see on offense? It's not going to be anything fancy,
No.
and they're just going to line up and try to win at the line of scrimmage.
Sure, they are. It's a double tight, double wing, one fullback, quarterback offense. Trying to explain it to the novice fan is kind of difficult, but they're a balanced formation, so you got to balance up defensively. It's hard to cheat one way or the other because you're not sure where the ball, which direction it's going. And when they run their base, their bread and butter play, they're going to get 8 or 9 blockers at the point of attack. And when you balance up, the most defensively you can get there is 6. So we've got to do a really good job at the initial point of attack creating piles. To me, that's the key. That's the first key defensively is the point of attack, how we do. If we get double teamed, we can't get blown backwards. We've got to go down and create piles. Second thing we've got to do is our backside linebackers, our backside corners, and our free safety have got to play behind the ball. And that's kind of hard to explain, but that has a lot to do with their offense is how they cut the ball back behind that mass of humanity, as we refer to it. Mimicking it in practice is so difficult. But I told our kids this week, they've done as good a job. Our offensive line and the people we use on our scout team have done as good a job as I think we possibly can to mimic it. Now, is it exact? No, they're not even close. But so we've tried to prepare our defense the best we could.
People don't realize, too, on how hard it is to pick up the ball with all the action in the backfield, with the inside handoffs, a little counter look,
Sure.
everything they run. Just finding the football is hard, let alone trying to stop it.
When you got 6, 7, 8 people out in front lead blocking, and your guys are trying to take on double teams and create piles, and you're the linebacker that's scraping behind, you can't see that guy back here. You can't see him. And the tendency of watching film after film of people playing, the tendency is to overrun looking for the football, and it ends up cutting back behind you. And that's why I say one big key is how we play behind that pile, looking for them to cut back.
On the positive side, it's probably good that they're not going to run a whole lot of plays. You know what they're going to do,
Sure.
but on the negative side, it's trying to stop it.
That's right. They're not complicated. It's not complicated. There's about 4 base run plays. They only run a couple of formations. But what they do is extremely well coached. They execute as good as anybody. And the big thing is, Coach, is that it's a time of possession game. Offenses like this, they're looking for 3 yards. If they can get 3.5 to 4 yards, just like many teams, then they feel like they're winning the game because it's just first down after first down. They eat the clock. You know, I'm reminded of last year against Palmetto. I can remember one possession that they took the opening possession of a quarter, and we got the ball back with about 3 minutes to go. Whether they scored or not, they've eaten 7 and 8 minutes off the clock. That has a lot to do with what they want to accomplish.
When you play a team like that, how much, or if any, does it put pressure on your offense to know, gosh, you know, it may be 7, 8 minutes before we get it back, that we got to take advantage of every possession we get because we don't know when we're going to get it?
Yeah, that's the key. One, you're only going to be limited in number of possessions, and so you need to move the football, and you need to try and score some points. Secondly, one of the best defenses you can have is your offense. If your offense is able to maintain possession, run the football, run the clock down as well, then it takes them away from what they want to do there. And so there's no doubt that's part of our game plan is try to execute as well as we can on offense, run the football, eat up the clock, and don't allow them to eat up all the minutes.
So, again, we'll be good to get back home for only the second home game there, though. Coming off your first loss of the year, you go to Chesney and play what I thought was probably your kids' the best game you played, most focused, full game. How has practice been this coming off a very hard loss to take on the road last Friday?
Well, I told them Wednesday after our last hard practice of the week since Thursday's walkthrough, I was very proud of our effort this week in practice. Coming off a loss, tendency is to hang your head, you're disappointed and not to come back. But what we were trying to prepare for, I was even more surprised at the way our kids responded this week. They got down and dirty in the trenches. There were bodies laying all over the field. I like the effort that we saw, not only from our offense trying to give a scout look, but from our defensive players. Offensively in practice, I thought our kids were excited because of the way we were able to run the football last week, and it kind of poured over into practice. So I'm very pleased of our kids' effort this week, and hope we can just take it from the practice field onto the game field.
Well, it's money time now. The region begins, and we wish you good luck in the first game.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.